Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skincare, and much more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, who are located nearby, and who are a good fit for any medical need you may have, and who are highly rated by verified patients like me. You can also see their actual appointment openings, choose a time that works for you, and click to instantly book a visit. Plus, Zocdoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. I've said this time and time again. I use Zocdoc. I've been using Zocdoc before they even contacted the BCC club about ads. I actually just had an appointment with my psychiatrist, who I found through Zocdoc, and I have been crying. Not for bad reasons, but because she does see me and she does hear me. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/BCC to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's Zocdoc.com/BCC, Zocdoc.com/BCC.
Welcome to The Chain. We're your hosts. I'm Kendahl Landreth, and I'm here with
Sarah Shower, and this is a BCC club where each week we go down an internet rabbit hole. And Kendall, what hole are we getting into?
The hole we're going into today is industry plans.
You guys may have heard the term, you may have not. It really depends. We're going to talk about it.
I honestly don't know much about it, so I'm very eager to hear what it is.
Yeah, I think it's often confused with nepotism babies, and I did make a note to include the distinction.
Yeah.
But I think they can be used interchangeably.
All right, amazing. Before we get into it, how's your week?
It was really good. Once again, a lot of reading. I was reading Unbuilt Walls.
I thought you said a lot of breeding. I was like, oh my God, you started breeding those kittens?
Oh my
Sarah.
God. Let's start them young before they're fixed. No, read Unbuilt Walls, and now I'm on Just Dope, which is about the war on drugs. Fun fact, there's been 3 wars on drugs.
Wow.
Yes. And
3 too many.
3 too many, seriously. We need to destigmatize drugs. But, okay, what else? Yes, there are kittens.
Yeah.
They're really cute. Love them. Naomi's doing that thing. Okay, so Pharaoh did pass away, and Naomi fell in love with Florida, one of the girl cats. And they're doing that thing of where they want to keep Florida, but they also want to keep Scoob. And so
Why Scoob? What is he bringing to the table?
She,
sorry.
Well, they're both like, super cuddly and nice.
Cute.
And so I'm like, well, I think we should keep one. And Naomi's doing that thing of where they're like, without, they're just like talking about keeping both.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, okay, see, only one. And so then they're like, oh, yeah, I understand. And then the next time they'll be like, so when we keep Scoob in Florida. And I'm like, well, see. Yeah. No, you added Scoob in there again.
Yeah, there it is. You did it again. What we've been talking about.
Yes, yeah, I know.
Interesting.
But so we're probably going to keep 2 because I can't say no to Naomi.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but that's what was happening. What else has been happening? Just a lot of like filming and I don't know. Yeah. How has your week been?
Good. I've had such a busy week. I feel like I have had a lot of work events, which is always fun, but like the type of events where I'm getting my hair and makeup done.
Oh, yeah.
By a professional lady.
Yes.
And I feel like it really takes it out of me. Like I'm used to working from home.
Wait. I got you a Lego set for your birthday.
Sarah! You didn't have to do that.
But I didn't bring it.
That's okay.
No, this is literally sorry because the last time I'm so sorry. Oh my God.
You don't have to apologize. One time I bought you a Lego set and it took me like 8 months to bring it here. And remember, it sat on my nightstand for so long, so I understand.
Okay, well now I'm sorry about that.
It's something to look forward to.
Okay.
I'm very excited. Thank you. You didn't have to do that.
I know, but I do.
Oh my God.
I actually am so sorry. Yes.
You don't need to be sorry. What was I saying? But I was getting my hair and makeup done, going to these events in these little fancy outfits.
Yes.
3 times this week. And I was like, I'm used to just working from my couch and I'm used to being like alone a lot and not talking to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And, I'm normal. I'm normal.
I'm just like everyone else.
I'm just like everyone else.
Yeah.
But it's a lot when you're like, these events last so long because it's like you go and there's like drinks before and then the thing happens and then after everyone's like network. It's like, it's not just hanging out with people. It's really high intensity hanging out with people where
Yes.
you're really like connecting in a way that feels intense. So my social battery was really at an all-time low this week, I feel like. 'Cause
Yeah.
I just was, and I was getting home at like 11:30, and I know that's not that late, but it felt crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, three times in 1 week can be exhausting.
Yeah, and I was like getting, oh my God, and one of the places. So I had gone, I feel like I have a lot of stuff, like our podcast is one of them, and I feel like I've had shoots like this where it starts at like 11
Yes.
and goes until through the afternoon.
Yeah.
Which is always tough because you like eat breakfast and then you're like, well, I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have lunch at 11 a.m. or 10:30 when I leave my house.
Yeah.
But by the time it's 3, I'm like, well, I'm starving, but I don't want to. I'm about to have dinner. I don't know. It's just a very weird timed thing.
Yeah.
And so I had a little tiny breakfast, not even a lot. Was on the shoot for 6 hours.
Oh no.
I thought they'd have like Cheetos or something. They didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm a big eater. That's what I'll tell you. I'm a big eater. I love to eat. I'm eating all day. Didn't have anything. And then we had to rush to this event. And I was like changing in the car, putting my makeup on in the car. I was like rushing to this event. And I was like, well, they'll have food at the cocktail hour.
Yeah.
And my partner was like, oh yeah, they'll have a bunch of food. And I literally said, I hope they have ahi tuna tiny tacos. I look like an idiot because
Very
I get
specific.
there.
Yeah.
Well, they have those sometimes hors d'oeuvres. Like when they have hors d'oeuvres, a lot of times I feel like an in thing right now is to do those tiny ahi tuna tacos.
Yeah.
That I'm obsessed with. I get there, no food. So at this point, I haven't eaten since 9 a.m.
Oh, I'd be shaky.
I was not well. And it was a 45-minute drive as well. And we were late, so we couldn't stop. And I was like, and Jordan was like, we can stop. And I was like, no, we gotta go. Because it was like their work event. I like really didn't want to make them late for their work event because I didn't pack a snack because I'm a ding dong. Because I'm like, why don't I pack snack? I gotta pack snacks. And I never do. And so we get there and I am like rushing into this event being like, where's the food?
Yeah.
There's no food.
Oh my God.
There's only so much alcohol.
Oh well.
And I don't know why in my head I like it's like when you're that hungry, you just want to consume something.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a waiter being like, would you like this? And I'm just like, yes, even though it's like wine. It was like wine.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I gotta be really careful because I'm gonna get really drunk if I drink right now. But I'm also like talking to people. And I don't know if this is an ADHD symptom or what it is. But people always make fun of me for being a quick drinker. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be alcohol at a dinner or water or soda, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because if I'm talking to people, I like want to move my hands.
Yeah.
And the easiest thing to do is like pick up your drink and drink it.
Yeah.
So I had 2 glasses of wine. Not that crazy, but I hadn't eaten all day. And I was pretty intoxicated. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't eat for another 2 hours after that. Jeez. Can you believe this? This is like a world record.
That is.
It's like I'm on Survivor.
Yes.
Naked and afraid. It was terrible.
Yeah.
I get out of there and I sprint. There's an after party. I like sprinted. I was first of the group to get up there. And I'm not even kidding. I walk in and the man, it's like fancy.
Uh-huh.
The man hands me a cup and I like grabbed it. I was so excited. I was like, what is this gonna be, fried chicken and waffles? What is this? I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I look, it's 2 tiny radishes.
Oh no.
And I almost slapped the man right across the face. I said, how dare you? And there's no food at the cocktail hour.
Yes.
Give me 2 tiny radishes.
Yeah.
It was, and then some guy brought out the fries and I practically attacked him.
Yeah.
But then I just had 2 cups of fries and I felt like I could vomit. I felt so sick and nauseous. It was like so anyways, that maybe be the least interesting story you've heard today, but that was something I went through this week.
I mean, like it's whenever I don't eat for a while, I get like weird and shaky.
Yeah.
So that's like my worst nightmare. And anyone with low blood sugar at home. But but when I was drinking, if I had one of those things, I think really like an IPA would probably give you the calories without you getting drunk.
Yeah,
So,
I should have asked for like a Bloody Mary, something that could give me some nutrients.
Yeah, like you order a cocktail. What has the most fruit in it?
Yeah,
Matter of fact, just give me the fruit.
I'm starving. I'm getting like martinis with olives in them, trying to eat. I should have honestly done that.
Yeah.
I was so hungry. I couldn't believe no hors d'oeuvres at a cocktail hour.
No.
Is this a joke?
It's messed up. Oh, I did want to say, I did a stand-up show the other day, and I saw your roommate, Chaz.
Charles?
Is it? Wait.
I have a friend named Charles and I have a roommate named Chaz. No, I have a friend named Chaz and a roommate named Charles.
Who is the nice young man that you collab with a lot in videos? Chaz.
You saw Chaz?
Yes.
Oh, I think he told me this at Topgolf.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see him at Topgolf.
No, he told me I was at Topgolf. And he was at Topgolf. And we went together.
Yeah.
And we played golf there. And honestly, I hadn't played since I was 15 because, I used to be really
I was going to
competitive.
say, yeah.
My first time playing, and they took me for my birthday. I was like, oh boy, I'm going to embarrass myself because all these years I've been going, I was really good at golf, and now it's been 10 years and I'm probably terrible. I was like, afterwards, I was so good. I was Googling, can you join the what is it called? I almost said LGBT, the LPGA Tour.
Oh, I mean.
In your 20s.
I think
turns out you can't join. You have to be invited. But I'm looking into it.
Yeah, you should reach out and be like, I'm really good at golf.
I'm really good. I'm sure they receive a lot of those emails. Guys, seriously, give me a chance. I'm really good. But he told me at Topgolf, he was like, I saw Sarah's stand-up show. She was so funny.
Oh my gosh, because I was the host. Her name is Alice, and Alice was like talking about him specifically, and I like peeked out into the audience because I was like, I recognize that name. I was like, oh my god, does every comedy person? Because like they do something at
UCB. They do mod night together.
Everyone does something at UCB, and I feel like left out. I'm like, I should join a team.
Get in there. Yeah. Get in there.
Are there writing teams?
Yeah. I mean, so mod night is like their sketch thing. And they also have Betty, I think it's called. I'm so bad with the names, but they're like, it's like a character thing. But for mod, I know it's like they have the writers and they have the performers. So you could be just a writer. I mean, you have to audition, but
I was in the stand-up show. There was like 20 people in the audience, and it was when you can see everyone in the audience, and like they're so I recognized him. And I would just, when you try to like not make eye contact, but I was like making eye contact, and I didn't want to stare too hard because it's a friend of a friend, but you like know, and I was like,
how did your show go?
It went really well. Good. I liked it a lot. I met a couple of followers afterwards, which was really nice, and it's just also cool. I don't know why. Whenever I go outside and I do stand up and people want to talk to me afterwards, I'm like, you want to talk to me? Yeah. I don't know why that's like so crazy to me.
I am the same exact way. I just did a meet and greet at VidCon, and I literally was terrible at it. I was it's like the second a person came up to me, the whole time felt like the lower status person. Not that I was the higher status person, but I felt like these people have paid to meet me.
Yeah.
And the second they come up, I'm like, they are desperate to get out of this conversation. They are literally thinking like, how do I like normally exit this conversation with Kendahl because I wish I was anywhere else.
Yeah.
I like can't process that this person like wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
So then I felt bad afterwards. I was like, I hope I wasn't like too like quick with the conversations because I would be like, well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but and it's like they probably were like, oh, she's trying to get me to leave, but I was like, no, I was desperate for you to not feel trapped here.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's like with someone came up to me after the show. They're really nice. And they were like, I take Adderall, I have ADHD, and they hadn't drinking water. And so they had like dry mouth, and I know what that's like. And when before a show, I take Ativan so I don't get like stage fright. And so I'm very calm. They're very hyperactive. And normally I would try to like be in the same, like show that I want to be there. And so I was like reminding them like, hey, I took not drugs. Well, I was prescribed this to calm down. So normally I'm incredibly happy to see you right now.
Yeah.
It's not showing up, but it's only because I just did a show. And so if I'm panicking on stage and I forget things.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, but then if you warn someone or you tell someone, I want to be here, it kind of suggests that you don't.
You don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a similar thing. I was at one of these events. And I was so thirsty because I hadn't drank or eaten all day. I was like literally dying. And I'm talking to this woman. I was like, well, I'm going to grab a drink. And to show her that it's not me trying to leave. Social situations are so hard.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have been talking to you for 20 minutes. I'm really enjoying myself. I'm so thirsty, but I've been staying here because I don't want you to think I'm not enjoying this. So I have to like do a backflip to make you feel. They haven't asked me to do this, but anyways, I was to make them feel like I wasn't leaving the conversation. I was like, "Do you want something from the bar?"
Yeah,
and she was like, "Oh yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm sorry if you're trying to get out of here."
Oh yeah,
and I was like, "No, oh my god, no. I'm really enjoying talking to you." But then the more I talked, it sounded like I was being like, I wasn't having a good time. Do you know what I mean? It's just so hard.
It is. Or like if you're kind of situated by a bar and you're talking to someone and you're like, I'm going to get something to drink. and all you do is pivot your body and they stay right there.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, the conversation kind of ended, but if I face them, it'll look like I'm out of the line.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing, guys.
But you know what a whole thing is?
What's the whole thing?
Nepotism. No, wrong one. Oops.
No.
Industry plants.
Industry plants. So I've compiled this research, and I will credit the people who originally, wrote all this together. But it's just so. According to Wikipedia, an industry plant is a term used to describe musicians who become popular through nepotism, inheritance, wealth, or their connections in the music industry, rather than on their own merits. So, I guess industry plants, nepotism, baby, are like in a Venn diagram. They probably share like 90% of the Venn diagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it would be like, though, you could become an industry plant without having like an actor or director as a parent.
Yeah.
Or a cousin. Like you could just be really, like I feel like Rebecca Black is kind of an industry plant.
Well, doesn't Rebecca Black have a dad that's someone important?
Probably. But I don't know if he's like I don't know. But I just know they have enough money to be like, we will make you your career.
Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah. So it's interesting.
Hello, guys. This week's episode is sponsored by Zocdoc. Sometimes searching for the right doctor is like a bad Mad Libs. You need a foot specialist who takes your East Coast insurance on the West Coast, who's within hopefully walking distance of you, but your feet hurt. You could Uber, but the expenses, they add up. Who doesn't keep you in the waiting room for around 3 hours, who actually helps you with your foot issue and it doesn't just tell you to walk it off and you're like, well, see, therein lies the rub and I can't walk, A doctor who makes you feel better, seen, heard. They actually see you and listen. Well, Zocdoc makes it easy to fill in those blanks to help you find the right doctor for your specific needs. Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skincare, and much more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, who are located nearby, and who are a good fit for any medical need you may have, and who are highly rated by verified patients like me. You can also see their actual appointment openings, choose a time that works for you, and click to instantly book a visit. Plus, Zocdoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. I've said this time and time again. I use Zocdoc. I've been using Zocdoc before they even contacted the BCC club about ads. I actually just had an appointment with my psychiatrist, who I found through Zocdoc, and I have been crying. Not for bad reasons, but because she does see me, and she does hear me. And just like, when you get medications and in the past, like a psychiatrist would be like, do you still need this? And it's like, yes, I still need that because it keeps me alive. It keeps me functioning. And she's one of those people that she just listens and she doesn't question. She doesn't make me feel crazy for asking for medication that I've been prescribed, And I did find her through Zocdoc. And I am actually crying because it is a nice break for once. And I appreciate her. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/BCC to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's Zocdoc.com/BCC. Zocdoc.com/BCC.
Also, like do you want to talk about the origin of the term?
Oh, yeah. The term originated in the early 2010s on hip-hop focused message boards to describe various rappers before being used against indie rock and pop musicians such as Clairo and Billie Eilish. In the late 2010s, it has been called a conspiracy theory by critics. Sorry, I'm reading this so wrong. Let me start over. The term originated in the early 2010s. Oh, 2000 Tims. Oh, my God.
You're doing it.
One more time. Here we go. The term originated in the early 2010s on hip-hop focused message boards to describe various rappers before being used against indie rock and pop musicians such as Clairo and Billie Eilish in the late 2010s. It has been called a conspiracy theory by critics and criticized for placing scrutiny on individual musicians rather than the music industry as a whole and for its variable meaning.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I guess like a lot of social criticism does go on the individual, but it's like who set up the system in the first place?
Yeah, you pretty much can't be. I think people have a lot of individual examples of people who didn't come from money that become successful.
Yeah.
But on the grand scale, it's pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
This is motivation from Kendahl Andreth this morning. But you know what I mean? I mean, just to make people honestly feel better. You can obviously do whatever you want, no matter, you can achieve all your dreams, truly. But it's getting increasingly harder to break into at least acting, I know, and music I don't know anything about, but I assume music, without having a lot of cold, hard cash.
Yeah, that is true. And it's like a lot of like, the Billie Eilish example, I know that her mom is an actress and her dad is also in the entertainment industry, so they're not in music, and it's usually industry plant usually concerns musicians, I've noticed. For nepotism babies, that's more at everything. Actually, there is where it gets specific, is that industry plants I've only heard like musicians described as it.
Yeah.
And I know that Claro's dad is someone. Obviously, both artists disagree. Yeah. It's just. Do you listen to Claro?
No. Well, maybe, but I don't know names of a lot of people. What songs?
I don't know. Okay. I know that they're a wee bit gay.
A wee bit. Okay.
Yeah. And then Billie Eilish, I listen to a lot. And the thing is Billie Eilish and Miley Cyrus are, while they have connections in the industry, I think that their work ethic and just the type of like songs and albums they put out, they've, that's when someone earns their keep.
Oh, yeah. Well, and Miley Cyrus, forever Miley Cyrus apologist. I mean, she doesn't need apologizing for, but I've always been a big fan. To me, it's like she's surpassed so much of what, like, I think there's nepotism babies, like, where their parents are still the by far most famous one, but they still just get to be a successful actor. But it's like if you go leaps and bounds beyond more famous than your parent, then it feels like you did do some earning of that.
Yes. Yeah. When you surpass your parents, you're in the clear in my mind. Come on,
Sorry,
Kendall.
I kicked something.
Oh my God.
I also think, I don't know, I would never put my kid, maybe I've said this before, but I would never put my kid in the industry. But ever so often you see a kid that you're like, there's nothing to do but put that kid in the industry. And I feel that with Miley Cyrus. Yeah. Like when I see videos of her as a little girl, I'm like, come on, she was made for the screen.
Yes.
And I feel that way with Dakota Fanning.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, when I see her interviewed, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, she needed to be in movies.
Yes.
And they just seem like they're enjoying it. I don't know. They seem like that's what they want. They're having the most fun. And I'm like, that makes sense to me. But there's only like 5 kids in the world that I feel like are really made for it, and the rest I'm like, it should be illegal. Yeah. And they should have that guy from Stranger Things play all children in movies. What's his name? Gatton?
The guy with the teeth?
He does have teeth, yes.
No, the missing teeth?
I think so. He was on Broadway.
That could be anyone.
He was in Sweeney Todd. I saw him live.
I don't know.
He did a great job. But him and like Bella Ramsey. Yes, thank you, Gat Mazzarato.
Oh, yeah, he's the guy with the teeth.
Yes, but
I love him. Love him.
I watched him on Broadway and then obviously watched Bella Ramsey. Yeah. They're in like The Last of Us.
Yeah.
After watching those two, I'm like, we don't need kids in the industry anymore. No. These two can play, but everyone. It just showed that I'm like, yeah, an adult can play kids. Yeah. And it's a way better performance. Like Gatton and Sweeney Todd, I was like, incredible. Thank God I didn't have to sit for 3 hours and watch an 8-year-old be like, nah, nee, nah, nah. You know what I mean? Yes. That was a horrible impression of a kid on Broadway, but it was just supposed to show annoying is what it was supposed to give off. Yeah. I think it did.
I've talked about my issue with child actors all the time. I don't really like media with a lot of children in it, and it's only because children's acting is, you gotta be a Dakota Fanning. Yeah. You can't do Disney in the middle of like, the Hunger Games. Yeah. Well, actually, we probably could. But like, you can't do Disney in the middle of Sweeney Todd. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think yes, 100%. And I also think it just makes it also doesn't mean anything to me because it's like you see a good adult actor and you're like, they're talented. Yeah. I see an incredible child actor. Like maybe one of the best performances I've ever seen from a child is Brooklyn Prince in Florida Project. She plays the little girl in the Florida Project.
Oh, I hated that movie.
I loved it, but she was so good in it, I thought. Yeah. And then I watched like behind the scenes of her acting because usually I assume like, a child actor is just kind of they're doing it line by line. They're like hitting them before to make them cry. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm like, it's not impressive. Watching behind the scenes, she was so talented, and they would really just like she would get in that headspace, and she did a lot of improv, like, and she was like 4 years old. She was incredible.
Yeah.
But then it's like, there's nothing against her. But you see her acting later, and it's like, she's fine.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, you saw Mary-Kate and Ashley, how that went. It's kind of like, and I love Mary-Kate and Ashley, but it's just like kids who are really talented at 4.
Yeah.
It doesn't translate when they're 10. So it's like, they're not really good actors. They're just so connected to their emotions because they haven't been told, they haven't been beaten down by the world yet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you're just watching a raw human exist,
Yeah.
which is cool, but it doesn't like, I'm hesitant to call like a 4-year-old talented.
Yes.
Even like in gymnastics, like I feel like you'll see a video being like, it's always the next Simone Biles. And it's this 4-year-old doing like 80 backflips. And I'm like, very impressive, but not to be rude. I had 0 training, and when I was that age, I could like do a cartwheel into the splits.
Yeah.
Because you're just weird when you're that age. You can just do so much. I'm like, I'd like to see her do this when she's 16, and then I'll be impressed.
You're like, I mean, this is not child actors and gymnasts can be good, but like you're so flexible, literally at that point in your life. Like, yeah, you could probably drop into a splits because because your hips and your muscles are just woo. Like they haven't, and that's the, it's just, I think,
The only one that blows me away is child singers. Because to me, singing, you're not supposed to sound like that when you're that age. So when like a 5-year-old will sing and they sound like an adult, that is crazy to me. Mm-hmm. And I feel like usually that carries.
I would say the only time I hesitate, and this, I don't know if this is, but when a boy child singer, I'm like, let's see how you navigate puberty.
Yeah.
And if you maintain your singing voice, or it like you create another one, then I'm like, yeah.
But can I say, I think I could be a male singer.
Okay.
I'm one of the worst singers in the world.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll hear these people that are like famous men singers. And I'm like, well, you're doing 2 notes that I could hit easy.
Yeah.
And then you got like Ariana Grande, any female singer is like, their range has to be so insane. But I'm like, I could be put into Imagine Dragons. I don't think anyone would notice.
Yeah, I like
They're not doing too much vocal range.
No, I like when a non-male singer has a very deep voice. Yeah. Why don't more women go low? Because I feel like it's
like a Fast Cars. Who sings that? Tracy Chapman?
Yeah. I mean, but like I love a low. I feel like lower is easier to maintain than a high pitch voice. I don't know why, and I don't know if that's just something. The only male singer I'm impressed with is Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses.
Oh yes,
he has a larger range than Mariah Carey.
Wow, you know who's also good?
Who?
Who's the lead singer of Prince right now?
Prince?
He was on American Idol. It's not Prince. He passed away.
Prince? Lead singer of Prince?
Wait, no, not of Prince. I'm sorry. Of oh my God.
Queen?
Of Queen. Yes.
Adam Lambert?
Yes, Adam Lambert. Sorry, who's the lead singer of Prince? You're like, no, the lead singer of Queen.
Yeah, okay.
Is Adam Lambert. I saw him live. It was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
Yes, and I am a huge Queen fan. And initially when I saw Adam Lambert step in, I was like, weird. And then I was like, no, it's not. A very flamboyant, powerful singer. That's exactly who Freddie Mercury was.
Yeah.
This is who it's so impressive. I love it.
I always, because we live in a world of industry plants now and nepotism babies, and every day I regret that I didn't get into music. I was like 9, so this would have been hard for me, but I regret I didn't get into music when Juno came out.
Okay.
Where you could just release top hits that would be you going like, I poured myself a cup of coffee and I walked to the bus. Do you know what I'm talking about? Those songs that were just terrible.
Yeah. No,
The strings on my guitar are so fun. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was in at the time. And I'm like, I should have gotten in.
Yeah.
There.
I mean, you could still do it.
I don't know if it would hit the same. And honestly, as I did it now, I was like, it doesn't sound as good as those other girls.
Yeah.
I'm not talented. I'm not good at singing. There's some hidden support.
One moment, a smoothie has just appeared.
How is it?
Good. I recently read, well, I mean, I didn't read this, but someone told it to me. People who take Vyvanse or Adderall, or if you have ADHD, you're supposed to have a lot of protein. We've talked about this. And so I just, your medicine doesn't work unless you have a bunch of protein. So I'm just having protein on protein, and my farts are stinky. What were we talking about?
I've been having 120 grams of protein a day.
My God. How is that?
It is. I'm going to have, first of all, I'm going to go into cardiac arrest.
Does it clog your arteries?
I mean, yeah. Well, here's the thing. No.
Okay.
not protein itself. But I
Yes.
think it's hard to, and I'm trying to do a good job. But I think, I am not doing the carnivore diet, to be clear. Not even close. I don't eat that much meat. But you see these people doing the carnivore diet, and it's like, it's just a lot of cholesterol.
Yeah.
And I'm not a scientist, as I'm sure you guys are shocked to find out. I'm not a scientist. But there's protein that doesn't do that, and there's protein that does do that. But sometimes the more accessible protein does do that. So it's like I could make I could make low cholesterol options.
Yes.
But sometimes when you're out on a little run, you buy a meat stick.
Yeah. You have
buy
no
a
choice.
Slim Jim.
Yeah. No, exactly.
And you just,
You just pray
deep
for the
throated
best.
is what I wanted to say, but I don't know why. Sorry, go ahead.
I did want to say some key points about industry plants. Like, this is from A&R Factory. Like, why they are. There's like there's unfair advantage. The first one is hidden support. The artist may have significant financial, promotional, and professional support that isn't disclosed to the public. This can include high-quality production, marketing teams, and connections that independent artists typically don't have access to. Yeah, so like if an artist really has high production value, like straight out the gate, unless they have like they went to film school, and then I'm like, oh yeah, they probably grabbed all their friends. And they were like, let's make this really nice-ass music video.
Yeah.
Usually it's, yeah.
Yeah.
And they also, they have this image of authenticity. Well, actually, this is what they don't have. Or they do, but unfairly. These artists are often marketed as having risen to fame through their own efforts, such as through social media, word of mouth, or self-releasing music. This creates an appealing narrative of an underdog or breakout star. And everyone loves to cheer for the underdog. And I do think you need to disclose if you had help, getting somewhere. It's just like, since, Hollywood and like the film and acting is like such a coveted role, I imagine it's like an Olympian has to disclose like, yeah, I've taken steroids, but then they get kicked off. You know what I mean? It's not fair because it's one thing when it's beauty standards, but then also effort and like skill you have to develop on your own. And if you don't disclose that the effort and the skill and the drive and the underdogness is not actually like self-made, then that's, it starts to bug me if they start to give advice or something.
Yeah, but then I think that's part of the industry plant energy is this like we have to market ourselves as really relatable girl next door. Like I feel like classic example is like a Taylor Swift. Mm-hmm. Listen, I love Taylor Swift, all right?
Okay.
I'm bopping around to those little those tunes. But she was like, I'm a small town girl. And it's like, no, you're literally not.
Yeah.
I don't know the full story, but her dad was like a huge executive at a music like he like paid for her to get her start. I think people are so black and white where they're like, no, she did a lot of work. Like she handed out CDs at the beach. I'm like, okay, but that doesn't usually work for people. I mean, a lot of people do that. It doesn't mean that she didn't do any work. Like I think Taylor Swift is very hardworking, but I think people really don't realize that it's like you can work so hard and be so talented in this industry and leave it with literally nothing. Like most people are like that. So I think people like her, and they really push that she like worked at her family owned a Christmas tree farm, and it's all just very stretched to be this kind of like Hallmark thing that it's not.
Yeah, I also think there's even if your parents aren't well off, there's something about having a parent who's like willing to go the extra mile for you. Yeah, like take you to singing lessons a couple times a week, or like to concerts a couple hours away, or to auditions, and it's like to have that availability.
Yes,
that's kind of like that's
why I consider myself a nepotism baby. Yeah, because I didn't have any connections. We didn't really have money, but my mom was like,
"It's not fair."
She was like, but she was like, "I will do whatever it takes," you know. Yeah. And it's like even when I went to I didn't have good enough grades to go to college, really, or I had good enough grades to go to college, but not with like an acting program. And I was like, I want to move to New York City, like the most expensive ask I could, and I want to go to the most expensive acting school there. Mm-hmm. And my mom, probably through tears, was just like, okay, and like made it happen. Like it was so, so supportive. So I think there's so many. I mean, I guess that just is like nice mommy privilege.
That is, not
necessarily nepotism.
No, it's not nepotism or an industry plan. It's just like it's nice to have their parents who support you.
Yes.
A lot of us have been basically raised ourselves. But it's not to say that if you have supportive parents, you're wrong or bad. It's just like there are advantages to being raised by supportive parents.
Yeah. That is very true.
Yes.
And honestly, a lot of industry plants' parents are not supportive. They're just scary.
Yeah.
A lot of them. So, there's pros and cons. Which one are we on? Sorry. Oh, controversy and debate. Mm-hmm. So the term is somewhat controversial and can be seen as pejorative. Yes. Now, what does that mean, Sarah?
Well, that is actually something I loosely know. So define. Okay, expressing contempt or disapproval.
Okay. It's often used by critics or fans who feel that the industry is being disingenuous about artists' origins and support. However, others argue that all artists require some level of support and that the term unfairly delegitimizes the artist's talent and hard work.
Yeah, it is kind of just applied to anyone who quote unquote appeared out of nowhere. But I don't think that people understand the power of social media and how it can be used to really blow up a song or someone's humor, and that's not unfair. It's no, everyone, the algorithm is so finicky, but if you manage to get I
honestly think oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
There's just nuance to it. If every time you see a new artist you're industry plant, dude, there's something wrong with you. But it's
because it's so complicated. I mean, there are times it's I didn't have any connections in any capacity, but then there are times I feel because I'm on the internet and I went viral on the internet on my own accord, but feel very lucky to have had that, that I'll get opportunities that I know would have been impossible for me before. Yeah. And I know I'm getting them because I'm on the internet. And even though that's me doing a thing, it still makes me be I'm an internet nepotism baby. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which it is not, but it is just the industry. There's so many, it's never just an overnight, no one has ever been just an overnight success.
Yeah.
And even people I mean, Chappell Roan is honestly the closest I would say to that, but even so, she's not. I mean, she's been going at this for so long and very successful for a really long time. It's reached a new level. But even I remember when the Hunger Games came out, I was I was 11, so I didn't really know what was going on. But I was I think a lot of people are Jennifer Lawrence is a new actress. She got cast off the street to be Katniss.
Yeah.
And it's she'd literally been nominated for an Oscar by that. But she was so successful and famous. But I think people think it's more overnight than it is. So there's just so many levels to fame, quote unquote, that by the time you get there, a million people have helped you. But also, I think it's really the most important thing is how you started. I think if the reason you immediately got into a room because your parents are this or because you have millions and millions of dollars, and that is what makes it. But at a certain level, you're just going to start getting opportunities because you are a successful person,
Yeah. And so that's my issue with a lot of nepotism babies. They're I did all this myself. And it's you did the hardest part you actually didn't do, and that's getting in the actual room.
And staying there, because it's really easy to be motivated. I mean, even now it's for me, I'm getting more exciting things. Even if I don't get the actual opportunity, exciting talks of something.
Yeah.
Where it's way easier to be motivated because you feel you're a hop, skip, and a jump away from what you want.
Yeah.
Versus when I was first starting out, and I was once again very lucky because I went viral on the internet when I was 21 years old. So I didn't have that many years of being a starving artist. But for those couple years, it's the least motivating thing ever. You just do so much work and you receive nothing.
Yeah.
And you just feel you're working 90 hours a week and have nothing to show for it. And then you just have to keep this motivation. I have friends who are in their 40s and have been working that hard that whole time. And you finally just have to accept maybe this will just never happen. That's the hard part, is staying motivated through that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. The real world is the most crushing aspect of anything.
Impact on perception. Being labeled as a plant can affect how audiences perceive an artist, potentially leading to skepticism about their authenticity and talent. However, it doesn't necessarily diminish their popularity or success.
Yeah, and I can understand, I think as of late, in the past couple of years, there's this push for celebrities to be more authentic because, you think about, what was that, during COVID, all the celebrities got together in their houses.
Oh my God,
and they were singing, and it's there's never, in history, I feel been such a disconnect between celebrities and people. And it's even Blake Lively with her movie that's coming out.
Oh, honestly, we should do a full episode on that.
Yeah, she's doing, what is the movie that she's doing called?
It Ends With Us.
It Ends With Us, which is
I
about
haven't seen it, but
domestic violence, and so she's put out these like, like go see the movie. She's like, put on your florals, grab your girls, go see the movie. And it's like, I feel like on a movie about domestic violence, like why would you phrase it in that way? And it's just like a disconnect between like the art and also the people who've experienced that.
I know. I saw this really funny TikTok. I should look up and maybe we'll leave it down below the name of the girl who does these TikToks. But they're like, if other movies were marketed like This Ends With Us, and it's her being like, grab your red coats and head to Schindler's List.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's like crazy because it's like, why are you promoting this like this? Or she'll have like, she keeps promoting like her new hair care line during the tour. It's just very funny. But it's also like, I think almost it should have, I think a lot of celebrities felt this need to like show their inner life and how their family runs. I feel like you saw the Kardashians especially try to be like, we need to show, even though their full life is on television, but they're like, we need to show like during the pandemic, Kim like having to deal with North and like how she's trying to work, but North is like irritating her while she's trying to work. And it's like, I think it almost made it worse where it was like, now you're showing us like, this is the peak. This is what you think is the real peak behind the curtain. And it's so deeply unrelatable, which I've never cared about. I'm like, if I like your music, give it not talking about someone who's like deeply unwell and offensive and bad. But in terms of just like, I don't need to connect to you to like your music. Most of the time I feel like I am the person who like will have a favorite artist, but I don't know their name at all. Like I listen to all their albums, but I like don't even know who they are, what they look like. And so I don't really care about that, but I do think there's this like big push to see how authentic they are. But then once they aren't actually as authentic, or they're authentic, but they're millionaires. So you're seeing how a millionaire lives and they kind of get not canceled, but just people are angry that they're not living like them.
Yeah.
Or even like I saw people really, every time Drew Barrymore posts a video in her bathroom, she gets so much like love on these videos because people are like, that's such a normal bathroom. And I'm like, I swear sometimes celebrities have like one room in their house they like haven't renovated so that they can do like apology videos in there and that they can do any video that they need to seem normal in. Like people always talk about Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher do their they always do their apology videos in front of the same wall. Yeah. And it's this like rustic looking wall that's supposed to make you feel like they kind of live on a farm maybe.
Yeah.
But they live in like a huge thing that's been on like Architecture Digest.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
I think so social media is not going away, and social media kind of has this reputation of being like shallow and stuff, and influencers being like shallow and stuff. But the truth of it is that there's so many different types of influencers and content creators that the people who are like at the top usually are. But like social media is more than just like, selling and people being, there's like, it's a lot of learning and specifically connecting with the community. And so, like, there's also, social media is largely authentic. When it comes to aesthetic sort of influencers, not so much. But, like, comedy or anyone who, education or anything like that, like, it is more raw and authentic. And whenever celebrities position themselves above influencers or above social media, what they don't realize that they're doing is that they're positioning themselves above the people.
Yeah.
Like, the people's platform. And, like, when they shit talk social media, it's like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fakeness, like, in the aesthetic realm, especially from traditional celebrities. But, like, this is largely where the people talk, and this is their forum. And, like, the fact that you're positioning yourself above it, or, like, shit-talking it, or, like, the fact that you haven't used social media in the entire time it's developed, or, like, you only post on it to, like, advertise your movie, it just leaves such an inauthentic taste in my mouth. And I do like not when celebrities participate in like dance trends, that makes me wildly uncomfortable. Start them, but don't participate. But like,
start them.
There are like some, like the Riverdale cast, weirdly enough, I do perceive them as more authentic because they are so active on social media.
Yeah.
There's the fact that they're active, and you can tell it's not just always for the purpose of selling.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you'll see like musicians, like they're always like, oh, I have to post like 8 TikToks about my album. Okay, that is whatever.
Yeah.
But like that's the only time they post. So the only time they're using social media is to sell. When I see a celebrity or like Julia Fox, when I see her just commenting in on like world events or trends or just, stitching something to be funny, I'm like, you can tell that she considers herself of the people.
Yes.
And that's what I like, because she does have very much a career outside of it. But there's something about her that's like, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And when celebrities are like, they don't follow anyone, they only post ads, they're always shit talking social media, you're like, you're and the fact that you position yourself above other people, it's just not reading as authentic.
Oh, you kind of talked about this a little bit, but industry plant versus nepotism, baby. You talked about that a little bit.
So the source for this is Her Campus by Haley Dever. I just wanted to explain this, there are nuanced definitions of both industry plant and nepotism baby, but there are certainly differences to be seen. Nepotism babies can apply to those operating outside of the music industry, although there are still musicians that come from established families. Nepotism, by definition, is when people with power and influence give jobs to friends and relatives. That is not to say children of famous people that are now in the entertainment industry aren't talented. What this really means, and I'm reading verbatim, the children of famous people achieve their status not through hard work, but rather through connections. The reason why the two terms are intertwined is because of artists like Willow and Jaden Smith. They are children of two extremely famous film stars, so they were able to secure positions in the music industry with top-tier production and pre-established fan bases. Now, I will say, Willow, obsessed with. And Jaden Smith hasn't really, besides, there are some movies I'm forgetting, but like Willow,
Wasn't he in The Karate Kid?
Yes. You know what? But when your parents are incredibly famous, it does give you a leg up. And
Sorry, go ahead.
And then I just think about and this is not, I think nepotism does happen everywhere.
Yeah.
I would say it's fine when the child is actually talented or smart or skilled or something.
Yeah.
But if they're not, I'm like, get out of here.
But what's hard is that it's like, it doesn't, in the music industry, I'm more and more feeling this way. I'm like, what is talent in the music industry? And I'm sure it must be so frustrating for so many musicians, because obviously there's so many musicians who are coming from the ground up. They write all their own music, or even ones that weren't coming from the ground up, but they write all their own music. They sing everything.
Yeah.
But there's this whole sector of music where I'm like, so they don't write it. Uh-huh. They don't really sing it, because they sing it, but then it's like auto-tuned, and auto-tune's so good now.
Yeah.
So I could do it. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't even really need to be that talented anymore. I mean, eventually you have to sing live, but now you don't have to really sing live. You can lip sync. It's just very interesting to me. But I guess I have to remind myself, because I think I had a little mental breakdown a couple weeks ago, where there's just, I'm sure you've had this before, there's so many people on the internet where you feel like, what am I doing that's so different? I mean, actually, maybe you don't have this because you're very specific on the internet, but I feel like I do, and you've done this for characters.
Yeah.
And I look around and everyone's doing characters.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who aren't trained in comedy, they're just people who used to be teachers, and then they started doing a character, and now they're a famous character actor on the internet.
Yes.
And I had someone come up to me who'd said something very nice about my comedy specifically, and it made me like, oh yeah, there's in every industry it just made me feel good. And I was like, in every industry there's bad and good people doing the thing. Mm-hmm. And that's just a part of every industry. It doesn't, but then there has to be people who are really good at the thing. Not that I'm not saying I'm the person that's really good, but I'm sure in the music industry it's similar, where it's there's so many talented people, but then, I don't know, you look at JoJo Siwa and you're like, you're a singer, and you famously say, I can't sing. Uh-huh. That's crazy. Yeah. And she doesn't write her own music. So it's just very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's maybe because we're not immersed in the world of music as much as comedy, but there's also a certain level of respect you can't inherit. And you also have to earn. So JoJo Siwa can be commercially successful, obviously, but if she were in a room with other singers, there would be, amongst her peers, is where I think there would be little to no respect. Yeah. And in the world of comedy, I think we would probably know more than a lot of other people who is objectively commercially successful, but who is absolutely, most people can tell when a comedian is garbage, but we know, and that we know that.
But it's confusing because you see.
Yeah.
My friends, sometimes we send these videos back and forth where it's the worst video you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And this is not me hitting on Lele Pons, because it's not about Lele Pons specifically, but that.
Hitting on?
I'm not hitting on Lele Pons. No, I have hit on Lele Pons. Just kidding. I've never met Lele Pons. But do you know, this is not about Lele Pons videos, but do you know videos like Lele Pons' videos, that kind of vibe of comedy where it's
Yes. Sorry, I'm taking a pill that I am prescribed. I forgot it.
Do you want me to pause?
You're good. Yes. No, you're good.
Do you know those vibes of videos? I don't even know how to describe it. All I know, I feel like Lele Pons kind of invented them, where it's like
physical humor.
Yeah, you could call it physical humor, where it's kind of like, I guess where it's like woman trips, and man turns and is like, what?
Yeah.
And you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
And Lele Pons, I think, is actually, she's got some funny stuff going on. But there's that vibe of humor is so ingrained in the internet now. And there's some really crazy stuff that I'm just like, what is this? This is not funny at all. But then it's like, it has, I'm not even kidding, 90 million likes.
Yes.
And you're like, am I crazy? Like, am I doing... It just makes, sometimes I think it's hit my confidence a little bit because it makes you think like none of this really matters. It's not like, but I just have to remind myself that it's like, I'm sure singers experience that, other people experience that, where it's like someone who's just not talented for some reason is getting this thing. But like when I look at a video like that, I'm like, well, my videos have never done that.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm missing the mark on what is actually funny, because I don't think this is funny at all, but it's like connected. It's transcended countries. It's gone through maybe that's what it is. There's no audio on it. So it's kind of like, that's what it is. And maybe I should start doing no audio videos, but it just feels confusing to me.
Yeah. I mean, you just mentioned Lele Pons, but Lele Pons is a very specific example in that her target demographic is been less than 18 years old.
Yeah.
And so those people have more time to be online, and also their comedy, what they think is funny, is less honed.
Yeah.
And so it's physical humor also translates well to an international audience because it's like cooking or dancing.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, speaking will help, but if you're tripping and doing something physical, it will register. And it's also leaning into how women are not perceived to be funny. This is going to sound weird, but like when women do more physical humor, it does get more well received because it looks like it's an accident. If you have, and most people don't think women are smart enough to put jokes together. So if they do something that's accidentally funny, they're more prone to believe it and suspend disbelief. If you're trying to build a comedy following as a woman whose target demographic is not under 18, you're going to have people think that you're cringe or not buy into it.
Yeah.
So you have to be like really good at comedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Lele Pons is attractive. And we were talking about this the other week. You know how hot people, they don't even have to have funny jokes, but if they're like falling down and they're hot, it's the acceptable form of funny for a woman.
Yeah.
And she's a pretty woman, so it just helps unbelievably.
Well, I think maybe that's where my insecurities sometimes, and once again, I talk myself out of these holes, but I get a little, it's overwhelming. I think being on the internet, it can be overwhelming because you're just, every day you're watching all your peers do kind of like, we're all trying to make content every day. So we're all kind of doing the same trends, doing the same stuff, and it makes you kind of feel like, well, what am I doing that's so, different or interesting? And I think in the comedy world, it started to get a little, because I feel like comedy came later to TikTok than other stuff did. At least, I don't know, from my perspective, because I feel like it was like dance and pretty people.
Yeah.
And then comedy kind of, and that's when I feel like started on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I did like these mom videos, which mom videos are not new. That is tale as old as time. But I started doing these videos impersonating my mom. And then it's like, slowly over time, a lot of people were doing, not after me, but just started impersonating their moms.
Yeah.
But they're all comedians. But then now you'll see so many videos where it's like a really hot woman that like has done herself up, like hair Dysoned, makeup on, like looks super hot.
Yes.
Everyone's hot, but you know what I mean. You get the picture in your head. And she's being like, my grandma at Thanksgiving, and she's saying things, but they're not really jokes, but they're also, she's not doing an impression of a grandma. She's just hot. But it gets like more likes than my videos where I'm like in a grandma wig with a walker. You know what I mean? Where I'm really committed to this like grandma character. And it makes you feel kind of crazy because you're like, well, she doesn't look like a grandma at all. And like, she's just like a girl that would have been in the cheerleading squad at my high school.
Yes.
She's like so hot. But she's just like going viral for being a comedian, but she's not really doing comedy. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's fascinating.
It's the same thing as like just a normal conversation between people. Like if you're conventionally attractive, talking to conventionally attractive people, like a lot of times they can talk really slow about nothing.
Yeah.
And it's because they've never been rushed and they just assume that people will listen to them. The same thing translates online. If you're hot, you can do something that you think is really funny, but a large majority of why people are drawn to you is your looks. I used to be a copywriter for different brands, and this was one of the most validating experiences of my life. Did it hurt that I was allowed to be more complex as a brand? Yes. But when I wrote like jokes for different brands, you couldn't see me. I was assumed to be a brand, and everyone always assumed I was a dude. So no one explained my own jokes to me. Everyone was like, ah, ha, ha, or I'm going to find who's ever writing this. And like, ugh. But that's normal to threaten a brand online. Everyone does it all the time. But like with me, this is not me saying anything. You see me, you see woman, and you think, and even the most seasoned feminists, when sometimes will be like, there's no way that she thought of that herself.
Yeah.
And so if the, comedy relies on a very heavy contrast. I've just read Humor by Terry Eagleton, which is the philosophy of humor. Like, comedy values shock. And so if you're very attractive, you need what you're saying to be like, or physicality, like it has to be like two very contrasting elements.
Yeah.
If someone you don't know if it's a joke or like, I don't know how to explain it.
But I get what you're saying. And I want to be clear. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm hating on female comics, because what I will say is I feel like every female comic is either the funniest person I've ever seen, or is pretty funny and also the hottest person I've ever seen. Yeah. And male comics, I've seen more. Obviously, there are funny male comics, but I see so many male comics on the internet and on the stage that I'm like, they're not funny and they're not attractive. Yeah. And they look dirty, honestly. They look like they haven't showered. And how are they the most famous person? I'm so confused. So this is not a hate on female comics. It's just an interesting thing I've noticed.
I think I'm really excited about the future of comedy, because I think there's going to be less men in the future. Because men, you'll see it with every like male comedian talking about like the woke. And it's like, oh, dude, this is not going to stop. This is not a trend. And the fact that you're already complaining about it and you can't adapt shows me that in 5 years, like, you're going to be out of here. Like, trust.
Well, because it's also so much, I think doing anything in this industry is about changing and morphing and learning. Like, even I have been on the internet for so little, but I started 4 years ago. The way I film my videos is night and day. It's so different now than it used to be, because things change. Like, people used to love it to feel, people loved for it to be front camera. And then people loved for it to feel like you weren't planning on filming a video. Like, there was a whole year where it was like, make your videos seem like you were just at a restaurant and you started doing a bit with your friend. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like in the character world. And that was big. And then then it got really high production value, where it was like, we want to see you like filmed by another person on a set, really, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it always is changing, and you have to just like adapt and change. And these male comedians, I think the most embarrassing thing about it is that it's like they were never telling jokes. Like, they just weren't telling jokes. They were just being racist and sexist. Like, they're not jokes. And so as that's stripped from them, any other comic would be comfortable. If you know how to write a joke, you know how to write a joke. Yeah. So if you tell me to write a racist joke, obviously I'm not going to do that. But if this person's doing racist and homophobic jokes, they would easily, if they know how to write a joke, be able to transition. If someone's like, write a joke about an apple, they'd be able to do it. Yeah. Because if you know how to do a form of a joke. But they don't, because they're not good comedians. So they literally are just panicked, and now are just like people on Fox News. Have you ever watched like the Fox News version of The Daily Show?
Never.
It is the worst thing I've ever seen. Yeah. Because my friend was telling me about it, where it's just like, they're not trained the writers are not trained comedians. Yes. Where it's like, when you're watching The Daily Show, like, political beliefs aside, if you were a Republican, you should be able to watch The Daily Show and laugh, because it is, I mean, people I know, comedians who are trained comedians, not political, they were comedians who now are hired to work at The Daily Show. And so it's jokes, it's constant jokes, it's so funny. Yeah. And then you go to the Fox version of it, and they're literally just like, Tim Waltz, beat, the audience laughs. It's like, what is this is crazy. It makes me feel so like, and they're all men. Yeah. You know there's not a single female writer on that team.
No, I wish I could recite what Terry Eagleton's philosophy, like, it's called humor, but it's, like, so every artist is supposed to have a strong perspective, like from a painter to a dancer to a singer to a comedian. If you have a strong perspective, it shows in your work, right? You have to, like, what are you trying to establish? Because comedians often talk in the same way that pastors do. Like, ever notice how this is a lot like this? And then, like, they're trying to get you to believe what their opinion is, you know, in a funny way. And so, like, if you don't have, like, and a lot of white people don't really have to think about their identity too deeply, you know, because no one throws their whiteness in their face that often. I mean, now the changing of the internet and stuff like that. But, like, a lot of straight cisgender men, what do they have to question, right?
No,
so, like,
nothing.
their perspective is not as informed, right? Like, there's no real push to transform or learn or grow because everything has been handed to them.
Yeah.
And, like, so, you know, every, like, woman, person of color, queer person, you've got to adapt to your environment, right? And you know that things are changing, and you know that you can't rest on your laurels because what the hell is your laurels? So you, like, are pushing yourself to, like, develop a perspective and an identity. And so a lot of white cis male comedians, they think what they think is funny is what other people are telling them is funny.
Yeah.
And so, like, if a lot of other people now with the changing of, like, the political landscape are like, oh, that's not funny, they don't know what is funny now.
Yeah.
Right? They're not in on the joke. They are the joke.
Yeah.
And so now they're getting more, like, angry. There's more vitriol. And it's like, if you just learn to, like, unpack a lot of the stuff and the privileges you've been taught, you would actually have a whole bunch more material. And so comedy does value shock, but the thing is it has to be tasteful. It's like when someone was traumatized in their childhood and they're like, my trauma made me funny. Your trauma did inform your perspective a lot, but it's only funny every once in a while to drop, like, mom hit me.
Yeah.
You know, especially when it's like, you know, just we're all coloring.
Right.
But, like, the thing is...
That's why, if you ever go to one of Sarah's stand-up shows, she passes out coloring books before. It's
a
very
whole thing.
sweet.
But the thing is a lot of people fear when they go to therapy or they change, they'll lose that thing. It's like, no, when you get smarter and
gain perspective.
You gain perspective, now you can craft new jokes around that.
Yeah.
So instead of just, I mean, even the potential of, like, you get hit, you know, you could, like, make a joke about, like, generational trauma or, like, you know, your mom's perspective or, like, there's so many ways to, like, you could psychoanalyze the situation. There's so many more things you can lean into and also still maintain the trauma of the joke, but now you have a new angle. And that's what men, a lot of white cisgender comedians, and the thing is people are always saying comedy is not political. It's because those are the people, like, talking. They don't have to engage with politics because what about their body or themselves is being governed?
Right.
You know? And so, like, now with the changing landscape, comedy is getting more political because it's less white guys. And every single white guy is frustrated now.
Yeah.
Like, I can't name one white comedian who doesn't complain about it. And so...
Well, the only one, I don't know if he complains about that, but there's one white male comedian that I think is very funny named Nate Bargatze. Do you know Nate Bargatze?
Is he the clean comedian?
I don't know, but keep in mind, I haven't watched his stuff in like a year, so if he's done something bad within that time, I'm sorry. But
no, I like him a lot.
He's so funny, but he is so self-deprecating. There's also you can tell when a man has been bullied. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Where it's like, this man is like, but he's never really talked about, he's like very clean. Like, I would take my kid to see his show. Like, he's not, but he just talks about like the simplest stuff. Like his sets, which is like my favorite, where it's such slice of life. Yeah. Like, he does this whole, one of my favorite things he did, this was years ago, but he talks about how when you walk on an airplane, he's like, do you ever walk on an airplane and you look around and you're like, this is a group of people that would die in a plane crash?
Yes.
And I'm like, I have that so much. Or he just did a set where he talked about how, like, when the construction work, like how sexism affects him in his life.
Yes.
Where like anyone will come to their house to fix something and they come to him and are asking him all these questions. And he's like, my wife does, I don't know anything about this stuff, and how like embarrassing it is, because he's like, they would never go up to my wife and ask her this. So it's like, he's just so aware, and he has kids, and he's like a normal guy that talks about normal stuff. He doesn't need to bring anytime he talks about his wife or his daughter, he's like building them up, and he's just punching down on himself. And it's like, that is not what we just want from men. That's what you want from comedians, because that is the humor of now. Like, that is what people want. It's like Ellen DeGeneres, sorry, I know she's got some issues, but I think she was so funny when she did stand-up back in the day. That stand-up would not hit the same now,
No.
in my opinion. I don't know. Some people think it's funny. But it's just a different type of humor. I mean, the best comedians of the 50s, it's completely different. When I took a stand-up class, the guy teaching it was older. And he was one of the most acclaimed stand-ups in New York City all through his 30s. But the way that he would pitch jokes, they're not what's going to get you a thing now.
Yeah.
He's incredible, but it's so different. And so it's not about being woke. It's about changing I think it's even less about what's offensive and just people don't like people laughing at other people now.
Yeah.
And even so I think it's just punching down is one of the first things you learn when you go to even when I did characters classes, when I trained doing characters, you don't punch down. And so it's that is in a 101 comedy class. Have you taken one?
Yeah.
These men don't. I have seen men, I'm not even kidding, when I was doing stand-up in New York, women come up fully off book. Every woman, fully off book, fully prepared. It's so funny. You will watch man after man after man walk up, lean against the wall every time.
Yeah.
And they don't talk. They just go, what else happened this week? I got dumped. And I'm missing that pussy. It's crazy. It's a waste of my time. And so it is just wild. And so there are funny comedians. I think it's even less about being woke and just you don't know how to write a joke.
Yeah.
And because also there are funny jokes. I think good comedians have shown time and time again, well, he told a homophobic joke, but he even made the gay people in the audience laugh. Do you know what I mean? Not that I'm encouraging that, but it is people make offensive jokes still. Sarah Silverman, I'm anti-Sarah Silverman, but, she's made some really offensive jokes that people laugh at because it's funny, because it's a joke,
Yeah, I think with the Nate Bargatze guy, he does have a strong perspective. He is a white guy, and he's trying not to be offensive.
Yeah.
Sure, it's not, usually, white comedians run towards that, historically, but since he has a constitution he's abiding by,
that he really believes, I think, too.
Yeah, he sure his friends may be but he's he has limits, and he knows he is, he has to work around a structure.
Yeah.
It's how I was reading a book on escaping from prisons, but you get
actually how
yes,
to
you get so creative when you're confined. If it's the difference between if you're on stage and you're doing improv, you ask for a prompt, I give you a prompt, that's helpful to get the but if I was do whatever, you'd be
that's my number one tip. If anyone's ever I have writer's block, if I'm having a hard time thinking of ideas, I literally will go write a TikTok that takes place in a bank.
Yeah.
It has to take place in a bank. And it's immediately you have 50 ideas because it's takes away that it could be anything.
Yeah.
Or even when I'm writing my little book I'm writing.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of times I'm well, could this be in a better location? Could this be in whatever? And I go, pretend that you were sent this pitch and you have to do this here.
Yeah.
And then you will make it work in a more creative way than just well, it'd be easier if it was set during, World War II. It's well, it wouldn't be easier for me to write, but it's if a bunch of crazy stuff is going on, it's going to be easier, but you just try to make it work and then it's going to make you more creative. So
yeah, that's the essence of wit is it's a yes and sort of situation. If you're just if the world is your oyster, believe it or not, you have too many options. And so you're just what you think is gonna be funny is just literally offensive stuff because it's the most vivid thing that you cling to.
Yeah. And I mean that to get back to our industry plants, nepotism babies, I think there is truth to bring it home. I think there is just truth to that. If you are, I every day, honestly, am grateful I'm not a nepotism baby.
Yeah.
Because maybe I've talked about this before, but I think there is when I bought my apartment or when I get a cool job, I feel so proud of myself because I'm I defied the odds here.
Yes.
No one was, when I was in high school and said I'm going to go be an actor, no one was expecting anything from me. So even if one day I book a Taco Bell commercial, I'll probably be in my local paper. It will be huge for me. Versus when you're a nepotism baby, it is anything less than succeeding is kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
And so how do you even build confidence when you feel kind of well, what is the point of success if I didn't really have anything to do with it?
Yeah.
To me, having success is so you can feel pride and you can afford stuff. But if you're already rich and you didn't really do it yourself, there's so much that sucks. And you can never get out of it no matter what you do unless you fully turn the tables and are I'm going to become an archaeologist.
Yes.
There's really not much impressing you can do of anyone or for yourself. And so I think it ties back to what we were just talking about. What we were just saying, that
when you've given all the freedom and resources.
Oh yes, I think when you're given all those resources and you're giving all of that, it takes a drive away from you that makes you create something really special sometimes. Because even I know for me, it's like the way I was grinding when I was 19 is different than I am now. Now I'm like, well, once a day I need a bath and I need to make sure that I read for an hour before bed. It's like, I can't live the way that I used to because there's not a survival need to do it, which I'm grateful for. Yeah. But when you have nothing, you feel like if I don't work my ass off, I will die with nothing. And it feels so intense. But you never have to feel that way. You don't have that awareness of like I said, people are so black and white. They're like, well, I worked hard. And I'm like, listen, you worked hard, but what I think these people don't understand is that working hard for other people doesn't mean anything. It's like if you worked hard, you still end up with nothing. And people can't imagine. They're so used to like, if I did the job, I get the reward. Yeah. And that is what I think is tough about being an industry plant or a nepotism baby. But honestly, I feel for them. I do, because I just am like, it would suck to not feel pride in yourself. Yeah.
But that's also where I feel some limited. I feel like also, yes, you may be afforded every comfort in the world, but at a certain point it becomes narcissistic, actually, because you're like, oh, I have nothing to worry about. And you want some sort of drive or motivation that compels you to move or change. Look at anyone else in the world. Everyone else, majority of people have some awful shit going on. Mm-hmm. And so, like, if you need to be inspired by suffering, or if you need it's suffering to motivate you to change, and you're like, well, I've got it great. If you take a look outside, you're like, oh my God, there's so much work to be done. And it's not to say that the people outside should be an inspiration. It's like the fact that not everyone is in your spot should be your motivation to change, right? Like if I was a successful white male comedian and my parents were like big old rich movie stars, and I was like, God, this sucks. I've got no
God, this sucks. It's so funny.
I would make my mission in life to bring up as many people. Like the fact that I don't, I would spend the rest of my days like seeing every comedian that really went for it or that needed a break, and I would dedicate my life to get them to this spot. And so like that's why I like when, I don't know, you have power, vouch for someone.
But I think it's hard because like I have myself to compare it to, which is so much easier. Where I'm like, well, this is how I used to live and this is how I live now. Mm-hmm. And so it's easy to remember, when I'm feeling lack of motivation, to go, Kendahl, imagine if you'd gotten this. Some days I wake up and like the other day I had to go to set early and I was like, I'm so fucking tired. I do not want to do this. And it's like, if you were 19, you would have given anything to this. Like, you need to be more positive, get together. Versus I think when you're born into it, it's like you have no perspective. So you think, in the same way that I have problems and there's people who, oh my God, it's so much worse than me. Yeah. But I'm not thinking about it all the time because I'm dealing with my own problems, where it's like it always continues, where it's like these nepotism babies wake up and they still are like, my life is so hard, because just no matter if you don't have that thing to look back to, if it's what you've always had, you don't even realize. You on a normal level, like your parents were like, some kids don't have food, and you can be like, some kids don't have food or a bed. But a real remembrance of what it's like to like wake up at 5 a.m. and work till 4 p.m. and then go straight to here and then work your second job. Like that awareness of what is, there's like that joke online about I think it's Kourtney Kardashian, where she's like, I have a really busy week. I have Nobu on Friday. Yeah. And then I'm going to Vegas. And I always like laugh at that clip because I'm like, if I had a dinner on a Thursday and then I had to fly to Vegas the next day, I would be stressed out, which is crazy because most people are like clocking in for their ICU shift. And I'm like, I have a big flight to take. So it's like your perspective really is just, it's hard if you haven't had that thing to look back on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's also like, how insulated from the world could you be that you don't, see the news? Or,
100%. Yeah. But I think it's less in your bones. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I go on a vacation, I'm like, I feel so lucky. Like I remember when I was like, I would do anything to do this. And it's so easier to feel that want and then be like, and now get to do this. Or if I get a call with someone really cool and I'm like, wow, I really did that. I worked so hard and I got this. Yeah. Versus if you just like, I had friends in school where you see kids, but they're like going to the Bahamas every other week when they're in third grade. And it's like, once again, still jealous. I'm not saying these are the victims of society we should be worrying about, but it is just like when you're an adult and you want to travel, where's it's kind of like, even if you're happy to be there, there's no like, how lucky am I? And even though you can say it out loud, it's like to feel it in your bones truly. It feels like you would have had to experience the other thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Once again, no sympathy. I'm just saying it. I'm just saying it's nice to like build your own career, even if it is harder. Sometimes, for me at least, I can feel like, and once again, so many people help me along the way, but not being a nepotism baby, it can feel like true pride in yourself when you have those milestones.
Yes.
When you like do something really cool where you can just be like, I did that, you know?
Yeah. And I'd say there are some times where celebrities, like my thing that I will give Kim Kardashian, which is an ode to a nepotism baby, is the fact that she could have just kept her career in looks and stuff, and she went back to, like, she went to law school.
Yeah.
And I know that it's like different, but like she has actually released some people who have like been wrongfully like imprisoned, and so like that she's got a lot, and there's a huge conversation about her with beauty standards, but like that is a dedication that I'm like, I wish other celebrities would pick up on that.
Well, and they, you know, I think what's different, and my partner, if you want to know what me and Jordan argue about the most, is the Kardashians, because it's sick because I don't even like the Kardashians. I don't follow any of them on Instagram. I really do not care. But I am always, Jordan's like, you're an apologist for them. Because I am like, they are working. They are doing something over there. And I am like, it's not that what they are famous for is not what they're doing now.
Yeah.
So it's like, it is to me hard to take like a sex tape and turn yourself into like what I would consider the royal family of America. Like, I feel like we don't have a royal family, and I feel like, not as classy, but I would say the Kardashians are kind of our royal family. It's like, people love them, they hate them, but we're all seeing them, and we're take trends from them, and some people receive news from them, which is sick, but it is kind of like this huge dynasty that does not come with how they became famous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They've had to like change and adapt, because they did have like Dash, which was like a children's boutique and all this stuff, and a bunch of failed businesses. And the thing is, I guess like you know how like it's like categorizing someone as a good or bad person, it just like lumps all of their life into one sort of categorization. Yeah. But if you like kind of distance yourself from like labeling someone good or bad, whether you believe that Kim Kardashian is ultimately bad, you can see, if you don't just bad or good label, you can break apart her life and see what she's done and been through.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I do know very limited stuff. The lawyer stuff, the not telling North about Kanye and what he's going through and letting her find out by herself. We talk about like family channels where like, you know, the parent really has no, they're just kind of letting creeps like watch their children. She is very active with them. So she does have things that she is listening and growing and changing. And ultimately beauty standards are the Kardashians. They've done so much damage. Yeah. But if you see someone for all of the things that they've done, you can pick out the good stuff.
100%. And they have, I mean, I feel like I don't need to list the bad things, because it's like, Google it. They have a lot of bad stuff. But maybe it's also because I have so many siblings that I think I get protective when people like loop a sibling group in together, which, you know, they do have a reality show together. Yeah. But I just know my siblings, I don't want to be represented by what my siblings are doing. Like, we're all so different. Like, I feel like you can have a group of 5 kids and they're the most different. Each one is so different than the other. So I think sometimes it's like, when you have that many kids, they're all at different times going to be doing something fucked up. Yeah. And if it each time builds a hatred for all of them, it's like, well, they're all very different, you know, people. I think they've all had their bad moments and they've all had their shining moments. Yeah. And they've all, you know, I don't know. I think I don't know. I just think there's good and there's bad. But also it's like, well, they're also just, sometimes like, what do you want people to do? Some people are doing their job they have, and it's like, if they all stop doing it, they don't have a job. So they just kind of keep doing it. And I think they could do a lot better. But Jordan's always like, you're such an apologist. I'm like, that's sick, because I don't even watch the show. Yeah. I just am sometimes like, women get really... Yeah. It's like men and women both can be bad, but the women are the ones we're like talking about. You know what I mean? I feel like we hear it with cancellations where like a man will literally do something, and then like women are getting canceled who like knew them. You know what I mean? Where it's just kind of like, why are we always so mad at the women when there's men doing this constantly? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. It's like when you go online, you see like a list of like 20 worst celebrities. All the women on there were just bitches. Yeah. All the men on there, literal pedophiles.
Yeah, 100%.
And you're like, this is the world. But yes, also women can be bad. But, you know, industry plant, is it misogynistic? It's starting to become that because it's mainly applied to women, but it's pretty evenly spread. So hopefully you guys understood this. We did go off on a rant, but also we are people in the industry.
I feel like we stayed true to the episode.
We did.
I actually am working on it. Look, I hear you. I'm going on rants. I know. I can't.
We're listening.
I took my medication today, and I felt like I kind of stayed on topic.
Good.
Bear with me, people.
We also peed a couple times. We are getting older, but you guys, let us know.
We're getting older.
Who's your favorite industry plant? Who do you know is an industry plant, and who do you think is an industry plant?
And comment if you are an industry plant.
Please.
And if you are, please contact us and help us.
I was going to say, where do you get your fertilizer? But that also will put me on a list. We have fun here.
We have fun. Come on, plants.
You know how to make
Oh, I didn't know that.
fertilizer.
I have a lot of questions after this episode. Thank you so
Do
much
not
for
Google
watching.
them.
I'm not going to.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Oh, remind me later. I have some questions about the dark web also.
I don't know how to get on it.
I watched a documentary about the dark web, and I have some questions. Thank you so much for listening. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts, make sure to rate us. And if you're on YouTube, give them a wave, Sarah. Hello, YouTube fans. Make sure to subscribe and comment down below what Sarah told you to say about the nepotism and the plants. And since we're talking about plants, comment down below your favorite flower. Mine's a hydrangea. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.